So, going back in the day, like I wonder, when you were growing up, when you were in high school, like did you envision that this was going to be your life? Like what did you set out to do and how'd you get to where you are now?
I remember just dreaming big all the time. I used to think I was going to be Kurt Cobain's roadie. I used to think that I was going to be in the studio, a big artist I would listen to at the time. I remember even telling my one of my teachers, like in middle school, like, look, you can say whatever you want about me and my attention or my work when it comes to classwork. I'm about to be someone special, and none of this will matter. And I just was always like thinking that I was going to be somebody somehow, some way, shape, or form. And I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know why I felt that, but I always kind of dreamed big, and I always knew that like I had a certain kind of aura around me that like when I was around people, they're interested in what I was doing and how I felt and what I thought. I'm like, this is pretty interesting. So I felt like I had something, I just didn't know quite what it was, and I just followed my heart. I want to get into music. I don't really quite know how to make music. I kind of figured it out, and I was obsessed with cannabis and figured out how I could work at a dispensary and just kind of put my foot in there as always, just stay dedicated to whatever I want to do and just figured it out the hard way.
That's great. I love that. So, I love the title of one of your chapters. No is code for negotiate. Can you give us some of your top tips for making things happen when you're getting a no or disinterest or, just a flat out no
Yeah,
thanks?
so it's important to say like sometimes no means no. It's like if someone says no and you're doing something they don't like, just stop, right? But when it comes like business or negotiations or you're trying to get something done like as a favor, whatever it may be, like remember the first thing first, people are human beings, right? And so if you kind of lay it out differently, like, hey, can I get a table here? The restaurant's full. No, there's no tables. All right, you clearly see some tables. This person's a person here. Look, I traveled pretty far. We had a rough day on the road. I would love to be able to sit down. We'll be fast. We already know what we want. Here's $300. Can we sit down? Cool. Maybe I'll do it. Right. So it's like there's a ways to get people. I had a situation in my chapter where I tried to go do a video with Chris Brown and Wiz Khalifa and Big Crit at this racetrack. Right. And I called and the guy said, no, it's not possible. I said, can I come see you in person? If you want to hear no in person, pull up. So I pulled up, 2 hour drive and sat down with him and told him why it was important that I got this done. And he heard me as a human being, why it was important to me, how it could change my life. And we all have hearts. And so if you're pitching something that's pure and you don't have any kind of ill intentions, you're smooth about the way you do it, you definitely change someone's mind. A lot of time it's just business too. Like, you want to get something done and the price is this and you want to try to get done for this and you as a leverage like no, sometimes it's just like a quick answer someone can give you because they don't want to talk about things or do things. But I've gotten a lot of things done when people say no. I've had samples that was denied. Like I wanted to try to clear a sample for music, and they said no. And I explained to them, this is why I want the sample cleared. This is what the song meant to me, and this is why it's going to be big. And I feel like every time I talk things through with people in a situation like that, it always ended up working out for me.
Yeah, that's such great advice because, and I've said this before, but I feel like our instinct, or we sit behind a computer, we send an email, maybe we send a text, but that face to face, you can't
Or
beat it.
just that message from the heart. You call someone and say, hey, I'd like to have my carpets cleaned on Saturday. Well, we're busy. We can't get there till Thursday. Well, look, I got some family coming in. I would love to give you guys a nice tip. Can we make it happen? I'm open to work at any kind of hours. My house looks crazy. I want my my in-laws to think I'm nuts. Yeah, you're a funny guy. I'll pull up. We'll do it tomorrow at 8 a.m. Just shoot us a tip. Cool. So it's always a way to get things done. I always, even when I call restaurants, right? It's just like to go orders and they don't have it on the menu anymore. There's always ways to get things done if you just kind of talk it through, right?
That's
Be
great.
kind.
And
You gotta be kind.
how does that extend to, I mean, you've got a pretty massive operation. So how does that extend to the way you kind of lead your operation, the people that work for you? How do you kind of keep everyone on the same page, doing what you want to do, preserving your brand, but also giving them room to stretch their wings a little bit?
Yeah, it's tough. Brand preservation is everything for me right now in the chapter of my life. We went really big, really fast. Some things slipped through the cracks, some things did not. So I'm just trying to preserve the brand as much as possible. Also, give independent operators their freedom to be operator. Right? Like, they don't want to just listen. We're not a franchise, so there's no like rule on how to do things 100%. I love to have some kind of guidelines to protect the brand. So just a kind of like a fine balance right now.
Yeah, yeah. And we've mentioned your music. I mean, you've got, I lost count. It was over 40 albums on Spotify at my last count. And these are albums, not songs. These are big works. Where does that creativity come from? Is it something that you just can't stop doing? Is it just something that flows out of you naturally?
Yeah, music's kind of like my therapist. It's my passion. It's a way to get things off my chest. And the way I do it, it's very, very different than a lot of people. A lot of people sit there and think about a jingle for a long time. And they think about a catchy hook and they kind of build around that. I go in the studio for a week and bang out an album. I'm like, okay, life has been lifing lately. I need to go to the studio in LA. I go to LA for 7 days. I bang out 14 songs, right? And that's those songs come out. I'm not the kind of guy to hide things or hold things or let me have some things in the background on release. If I make work, I release work. I have over 46 albums out, and I feel like it's almost like a journal of my journey. And you could tell the growth when you listen to things back from 2007 to now, right? Like the conversation is different, the things I'm talking about are different. Of course, I have like a Bay Area hustler like kind of style of music that's like very very unique, but I kind of own my lane and I love it, and I'm gonna keep doing it as long as people want to hear it.
During those down, when things are going great, that's great, but as you said, there's inevitably going to be problems. What's your method for working through those problems without like going sideways too fast?
Yeah, just transparency with your customers as much as you can. I'm really excited about the book because I'm able to talk about some of the stuff that we've been going through that I have not been able to talk about publicly. So it's gonna be good for people to hear my side of things. But you gotta be transparent with your customers. And you have to just remember, like, look, you chose this life, and if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? So you have to be able to put out fires, manage things as the best you can, and keep strong. Keep your brand, on fire as much as you can. Just like I don't know, I feel like I deal with things pretty well now. I've been going through things for a while now, and I feel like I always tell myself three things. One, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Two, it's not harder than chemotherapy. So that's my latest thing is like, you know what, this has nothing on chemotherapy. So I'm gonna push
Right.
through it, right? I think three, just remember why I'm here. Like I love what I do, and any problem could be fixed if you have the right intentions. So I just try to push through things these days.
Well, yeah, you mentioned the chemotherapy. You've been through a lot, obviously, and thank God you're doing well. What is the connection in your mind between, mental and physical health? Because that's such a big topic for people who choose to do very stressful things.
Mental health is super important. Like, you never really think that if you're in shape and you're working out and you're eating clean, that your mental can affect your body, and vice versa. If you're super sharp minded and you're not really stressed over things, your body can affect your mental. So it's important to keep both intact. I struggle with my diet. I'm a foodie by nature, and I live in San Francisco, some of the best food in the world out here. But just trying to keep my mental and my health in check right now. I had colon cancer at 38 years old, and I could have died if I didn't find it. And ASAP, they said another 6 months to a year without addressing, I would have been dead in a year. And I
Wow.
seen people and I met people on my journey that are no longer here that were in better shape than me or in the same position as me. And I'm actually going to go speak at the city hall tonight for colorectal cancer awareness. And it's crazy. Colorectal cancer now is the biggest killer for people under 50 when it comes to cancer. I'm more aware of that than ever, and I just try to avoid processed foods as much as I can, even when on the road and things get tempting for a few months of being bad. I got to clean it back up and put yourself in check. So for entrepreneurs out there, your rest and your mind is just as important as your body, and your body is even more important than your mind and your rest.
Yeah. Oh, well, amen to that. That's very well said and very cool that you are out there trying to educate people to help them stay on top of this because yeah, your health is everything. Um, is there anything from this book that you are really like anxious for people to read and understand? I'm sure you get a lot of questions, a lot of people who looking to pick your brain. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, what's the overall message you want to put out there?
For the last 3 years, we've been under a big attack litigation wise, and I've had to stay silent about it. I don't know if you know how it goes, but in litigation, when you're in arbitration, you can't really talk about anything. And it's been really hard for me because I'm a very transparent guy, like I mentioned, and I just want my fans to understand what we've been dealing with. And I address some of that in this book, and I cannot wait for them to read that because I think they're going to respect who I am and what I've done when they read that and understand what we've been dealing with. It's been very, very difficult. It's been very, very tough, and people try to take my shit, and I've been fighting for it very hard. And there's certain things that slipped through the cracks the last few years. I don't want them to think it was intentional, or I just don't care. I've been dealing with some crazy things that were out of my control, but if things are back in control and in my hands now, I would love for people to understand what we've been dealing with. So I'm excited about that.